morning, students. Myself, Professor Ganesh here, working in Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Cambridge Institute of Technology. So today's class is User Interface Design, Module 5, Screen-Based Controls, CS Department. So last class we have seen operatable controls and your selection controls. This class we will be dealing with presentation controls. So presentation controls are purely informational. See, there are so many presentation controls. There are static text fields, group boxes, column headings, tooltips, balloon tips, progress indicators. So all these things one by one we will be saying. See, these are all the controls which helps for the presentation. Right? The first one is a static text field. So it is a text field which provides only read-only information. So where it is only a option to read only. There is no editing part. Right? So you can see in the figure caption, that is a label. Right? The wordings are heading. This message is very important. So it is something like read-only information. You can't edit, you can't do anything there. So this is a figure, which is example for static text field. So when you are designing a static text field, what is that guidelines you have to follow? The first guidelines is always include a colon as a part of caption. So now caption, after caption you should have a colon, so which helps the differentiate between the caption and the next proper wordings. Then display a unique and consistent font style for easy recognition and differentiation. So there should be difference between the caption and the heading, right? You can see the font, or it is in uppercase, it is in sentence case, it is in sentence case. So now there is a difference between the caption and the wordings there. So that has to be followed. Then the other information like headings, subheadings, all those things you can include. For all those things, you have to follow the screen guidelines. So when you are designing a screen guidelines, there is W3C guidelines which you have to follow. So those are the guidelines which the user should follow when he is designing a static text field entries, right? Text field boxes, or you can say it is static text fields control. Then the second one, group boxes. It is a standardized rectangular frame that surrounds a group of elements. So there are certain group of elements. It is something like alignment or grouping can be done by using group boxes, right? So as in the figure you can see the granularity, border width are common elements which is in the sizing grid column box or a group box. So that is what group box is. So now what is the guidelines you have to follow? You have to use a noun or a non-prior phrase for group box label or headings. Keep the text brief, 1 or 2 words. So you can see it should be 1 or 2 words only, not more, and it should be very precise. Then the next one is column headings. A column heading control, it is also called as header control. We have seen in so many tables. It is having 2 parts, column heading and column part. So now you can see in the figure, one has column heading and column part. All the columns will have column parts, all the columns will have column headings. So now nothing much to talk about column heading because everybody know we have seen so many tables. For every table we'll be having so many values. Now the guideline is you have to provide a proper heading because that heading is a main control for the table. So it is very important for you to provide a proper heading. It can include text or it can include graphic images, anything, but it should be very proper. And very most important guideline is the width of each column should fit the average size of column entries. The width should be equal or it should be little more than the texting environments there. Right now you can see size and name. Name column is little more big because the next files are more length there. The name of the file line length is more. Then the next kind of presentation control is tooltip. So this we have noticed in a number of places where, for example, in the figure you can see an image of a watch, right? Where 90% of the user know, okay, this is a watch. Where once a particular user points the cursor on that, or once it clicks, time will be displayed. But many people doesn't know this. So we should have a tip there. That is called as tooltip, which tells what is that particular image is of. When a pointer is moved over that element, it should display a description of that particular image. So advantage of this is it reduces the cluttering, clumsiness. Instead of writing the entire thing, the screen, once only you place the pointer on that only, then it will display. So you are reducing the space initially. It enables control size also there. See, guideline says you have to display after short time period. That is short time out, right? Means when you're displaying, right? When you're displaying the pointer which you've selected, that has to be, once the pointer is moved on to that, so within a short period, right, it should display that particular description, and it should not be that without pointing only it should not display. So after pointing only it should display. Then for toolbars, provide a brief word as label. So you should have a label for that. You should also have a description wordings for that. For all these things, you should use Mr. case or sentence case. So have a proper casing there, right? So because if you have complete uppercase, it will be again clumsy for looking part, right? So and we have to again follow all the standard rules and regulations defined by W3C when you are following this one, right? And one more guideline what you have to follow is you have to remove the tooltip when the control is deactivated, right? So now, or when the pointer is moved away from it, or when it is activating, the tooltip should be deactivated, or the tooltip should be removed. Means the tooltip should appear only when the pointer is moved on the element, or it is moved over that element. Once it is clicked or once it is moved away, the tooltip should vanish there. Then balloon tip is the advancement of tooltip which has more information or more descriptive information, right? You can see in the figure. So this example I can take is the date of birth. On application forms, you'll be filling date of birth. If you fill in a wrong format, it will show you, okay, this is a wrong format, right? You have to fill in so and so format. So for that, it's called as balloon tip, which has the components of balloon tips are title, body text, and message icons, where you can enter. Once you enter, if there is something invalid, it will tell you, okay, what you have entered is invalid or whatever you have given, right? The conditions here are title will be automatically bold, right? The body text and message icons, you can use it accordingly. So first we will see the guidelines for general balloon tip and for the information of that particular balloon tip. So that is contained balloon tip. The first general information or the general guidelines is, so you have to use a notification tip to inform the user when the state changes. When there is a toggle between the states, right? What you have entered is wrong or what you have entered is not wrong. There should be a identification, or you should give a reminder for the user there is a change there, right? And always make sure the balloon tip should be pointing to the item which is referred. It should be pointing to that particular tip only. Don't use more tips also. If you use more, it will be complicated, right? For which one, which tip, for which referencing you are using which tip, it will become a problem. So these are the general guidelines which you have to follow with respect to balloon tip. With respect to balloon tip contents, the list, the length of that, it should be 100 characters, including everything. The title text, it automatically appears bold text. So use the other font styles, some variation for the remaining part. The next one is progress indicators. Progress indicators is a rectangular bar that fills as a process is being performed. The filled in area indicates the percentage of process. So now, example what I can take here is, you have seen a number of application setup. Once you install the setup, you will get the percentage, a bar, which tells you how much percentage of setup is completed. That is what progress indicators are. So far, 99% of people will be seen only horizontal progress. Vertical progress is also there, which indicates from bottom to top, right? Then, sample box is a box which illustrates what will show up on the screen based on the parameters which is selected. So on selecting something, it will be highlighting with the small box that is called a sample box. It is to provide a representation of actual screen content based on which the parameters is selected. So the ones which is selected will be highlighted. That highlighted will be in a certain box size, that is sample box. As in the figure you can see, once you click on that particular, sample box will be shown with that particular message. Then the next concept is scrolling tickers, right? So we have seen this when there is a wordings or when there is a data horizontally, right? Means you have to scroll to the right hand side to see the extreme right hand, and you have to scroll to the left hand side to see the extreme left hand side. So that is what we use scrolling tickers. So something like scrolling horizontal ways, right? Where you can reduce the screen space, right? Vertical screen space is reduced, so we can use horizontal. But disadvantage is also there where it is difficult for us to go to the extreme right if there is more data there. Then the next concept is, see, whatever the developer design, right, it has to be tested, and testing can be done in two ways. One, the developer testing and the user testing. So the person who is using that, if he tests that one, it is user testing. The person who has developed that one, he tests that one, it's called as developer testing. So for all these things, we should have a prototype. That is, prototype means it is a set of rules and regulations which is followed during designing, right? So now, once you give an opportunity for the user to test it, and you should provide him a proper channel, a proper way for feedback of that particular one, right? Once the feedback is given, you have to redesign it and retest it. That is what test and retest. For every test and retest, you have to follow certain guidelines or rules and regulations. That is called as prototypes. Then, and sketches and scenarios. So, and sketches are the ones which is sketches which is created by hand. So now, in this, the focus will be only on the design, not on the interface. So what you are writing, what you are sketching is only focus on that, not on the entire interface. So now, what is the advantage of this sketches or hand sketches? It can be used very early in the development process. So before interface only we can start this. It is suited for use for entire design team. It is much time is required for this. It requires only less time, and programming skills also is not required for this. There is nothing to develop or interpret something there or debug something. It is easily portable. It is fast to modify anything because it takes less time to do and less time to modify it also. The disadvantages are it is only a rough approximation. Approximation is only less because it is limited in providing and understanding them. And always this is only a demo, not a complete exercise. Right? And in next classes we will be seeing what is usability tests, where the user will find what are the usability problems, whereas in this it is only limited usefulness. So in this we can't use it for usability. It's because there is only we can tell there is no code here, right? There is no detailed explanation about the code here, right? And it is usually restricted to most common tasks. Now, how do we do the process of this? So it is sketch is also called as a storyboard, which determines source and content of the screen. It is usually a erasable medium, so where you can edit it. Once you do, you can edit it. It is something called as a paint, where you do something, you can edit that one. It sketches the screens needed to be complete with each workflow task. Whatever you do, you can select it. Whichever you want, you can complete it and you can update it, right? So first, storyboard common, critical and frequent scenarios are followed. So where you can go from the beginning. There is something called as metaphor is always called as a template, where we have existing template, where we can go from that template, edit that one, or you can go from the beginning, right? So now, don't get too detailed, means the positioning, right? The depth position where it is. So what is this information, where we get information? The detailed information we should not go because it is not an interface here. It is just a demonstration, right? So it is not an exercise. So don't go with complete or depth information. It works as a team where it can have one or more users, where we have online prototypes, we have a set of complete screens which are satisfactory sketched. Then the next kind of prototypes are interactive paper prototypes. So simple low fidelity prototypes involves use of common office supplies, some post-it materials, transparency, marker sources. So it is all annotation. Interactive, where the user is interacting with the components of the system. So we should have interface components, right? Where you are giving an option for the user to interact with particular system. So for that we have a prototype. It is again a low fidelity prototype where the usage, the common usage of the user interface. Now, the advantages of this. It is more illustrative of program dynamics than sketches. So sketches is not an, whereas this one we have illustrative sketches there. right? It can be used to demonstrate the interaction. It is generally a same hard draw sketches and scenarios. The disadvantage is again same as that one. It is just a demonstration of an exercise. It is driven by the facilitator, not by the user. It is again limited usefulness are there. When we talk about usability testing, I'll talk about this. Then program the facade. Facade means it gives you the realistic surface view or the front view of the particular design. So now building is their front view. It is called as facade view, right? So facades are created by prototyping tools. So facades, the front view will move from medium to high fidelity prototypes. What are the advantages of this? So where we have a detailed specification of the data and a proper channel where we can see all those things. A vehicle for data collection. So where we are asking the information from the user. The disadvantages are it may solidify the design too soon, right? So design can be solidified or fixed. It creates false expectations. What is expectations of the user may not be achieved. It is expensive and it is more time consuming. Why it is more consuming? Because it is a front view, the realistic view of that. It is more time consuming and more expensive to do develop. The requirements we have seen in the last class, right? The direct and indirect requirements gathering, it is not so effective here. Why? Because it is just a front view where we can't get all the requirements of the other parts. Right? Not all the functions demonstrated may be used because of cost. So initially, whatever you tell, the front view will be like this, will be like that, may not all will be achieved. It is not practical for investing more than 2 or 3 approaches. Then, prototype oriented languages. It is an example of completed dialog screen for some parts of the system. It provides prototype for constructing using programming language. So it is complete prototype oriented languages, right? Where we have seen Visual Basics, you have seen so many softwares are there. It is all prototype oriented languages where we have high fidelity prototype where it is high usage is there. So advantages, it includes the final code. It has those program facades. All the advantages of your prototypes are included here, right? The disadvantages here, it is the program facades disadvantages. So we have seen so many disadvantages of program facades. All those things will be applicable here. So in the next class, we will be seeing the components which is involved for evaluation. Thank you for the class. Thank you all students.